7 power right to make it enjoyable. The little deposit of 200 naira. You must look land you. Give the document to land. Start building now. When they advance me, it's a later. See the area. Telephone base. www.4840. New properties.
ọdún yìí wọ́n bá sẹ́kì ayé bí wọ́n tó bá sẹ́kì. tọ́mọ àkọ́wà mọ́ àkọ́kọ́ òkè tó ń àwọn òkè sáré kí á ẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ fọ́nà kí ẹ̀ wọ́n kọ́ ní ẹ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ ládùn àkàwọ̀ yóò ètò ìtàn àná. àríyànlẹ́ kẹ́rẹ́ náà bí ọ̀nà èkèlè náà pípa yóò tó àwọn yòóní. wọ́n náà bá dùn ọ̀kà lọ́n dá so lọ́nà kìnnà kẹ́lẹ́rọ̀n ọ̀rọ̀ àgbẹ̀ ètò ìtàn máa wá gbé náà yẹn àbọ̀ ní gọ́gọ́ náà sẹ́yìn ẹni kẹ́lẹ́ tí kàtínà nù pé na àjẹnaralu àbọ̀ ní
PDP.
Of White Divide Artriac, His Excellency Chief Actor Ebrosawa Ibidion, AP Isamobini, during his breath. I most lovely to say to my friends and well wishers who invite COVID-19 visit attend the event's 4th day flash. Wishing you good friends well wish accrued. Join celebration through RTV live broadcast and other similar forms. With the cigar festival, His Excellency Mr. Bidinose Obi, member of his Tradition Institute, Akan and Beat, members of Loma Call, Heart of Amy, Clay across denominations, market with mess of snowbies, paradise, and other new metal mention. May happiness and celebration never depart from life. The good Lord can bless you for your next and show off in time. Excellent, the check, all the has off we need.
Godwin was vote for PDP.
This is IEV. Certainly the best. Thursday evening. First, we apologize for coming up behind time due to some unforeseen circumstances. Welcome to the climax of our special program to showcase candidates for the 2020 governorship election. ITV Radio meet the candidates and their political parties. And today, we have the PDP governorship candidate, who is also the Edo State Governor, His Excellency Godwin Obaseki. It's a delight to have you here, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Okay. We'll just go right into the conversations on Edo 2020. But let's start from the basics. In 2016, you were in APC. 4 years down the line, you are in PDP. We'll have the time to go through all the history as to how we got to where we are today. So how was it something you anticipated somewhere along the line?
I didn't anticipate it in the beginning, but by the time I had spent 2 years in office, I knew that something was wrong, because the issues and the concerns that I used to express about PDP, I found were more fundamental, or more within the APC, which was that in the APC there was just arbitrariness, there was impunity, there was deceit. The leaders will say one thing and do exactly the opposite. What they were criticizing PDP for, they were much worse. For instance, they said one of the criticisms against PDP was that the PDP government would believe in sharing the money. And 2 years into my administration, the major challenge I had with the leaders of APC was that I was not sharing money. So I just came to the conclusion that APC was not being honest. They were not being straightforward. The leadership of APC was not straightforward. And in any case, they were not as organized or as structured as PDP, as I now have found when joined PDP.
Of the things you talked about that you later found out in APC, they were instrumental to you becoming your first term. Did you have any problem with that?
That was shock because being outside of the seat, I did not see these aspects, because the rhetoric was, was not that. The rhetoric was that we're progressive, that the party is a progressive party that believed in putting people first, that believed in using the, resources of the people for the development of the state. And here I was trying to do that, and I was being challenged.
Isn't it some sort of betrayal on your part against the benefit you're coming from and where you acted?
I think it was a fundamental betrayal, of course, because I was made to believe, or I believed, that the party was a progressive party. I did not see that aspect of deceit within the party. I truly believe that this is a party that meant well for the people, that will put the people first, and will make sacrifices for the people, not for certain individuals.
You've consistently said that part of the reason why you had to leave, which of course climaxed with your being screened out in the primaries and all that, was that there were some people who wanted to share money in the Edo State Treasury, but the fact that never really mentioned any names, even though I'm allowing you to do that now, betrays that line of thinking.
Well, I just know that having become governor, I realized that first, resources were not that much, and compared to the amount of demands on the resources of the state, which we had to prioritize. Okay. For instance, take the issue of salaries and pensions. These were things were outstanding. If you read the manifesto of APC, they claim that the elderly, the vulnerable in society were going to be a priority. And I truly believe that, and I still do. And to skip payment of pension to pensioners and see them protest on a daily basis and not care about it, not know that, okay, you had to make that sacrifice, you had to let go some luxuries to take care of these elderly people. I don't think it's not, it's very counter to what the party professed. The party that says we'll be very empathetic, we'll take care of the weak, the elderly in society, watching pensioners die on the streets.
You're in the first tenure of your administration, gradually coming to a close, and that will be decided on Saturday. What are the major gains in terms of impact this last 4 years?
Let me talk about the impacts that are not visible. First, this sense of being an Edo person. By the time I got in 2016, you looked at papers, television stations, news reels from within and outside the country. Edo and Edo people were not held in very high esteem because of the issue of human trafficking. If you recall clearly, at a point in time, we had more than 30,000 Edo boys and girls in Libya waiting to cross over to Europe. And there was not one ship that capsized that you didn't find an Edo person. That stigma, for me, was not something I could live with. It meant there was something fundamental wrong that was leading these children, these youngsters, to run away from home. And we're not going out there and not representing us well. So that whole concept, that whole sense of being a Edo person, that Edo pride, we were losing very fast. And I thought that is something that you can't quantify, it's something you can measure, something we had to deal with. 4 years later, I think that sense, that Edo pride has been restored. When we talk about human trafficking, to mention human trafficking, Edo is no longer number one. We've gone down, in the ladder. You look at the issue, and what was the problem? The problem was educational system collapsed. A lot of these young people who were running away hadn't been properly trained. Even though they had, some of them had gone through schools, they were not really properly educated and almost unemployable. So for us, the emphasis had to be first reenacting, building the educational system at the base, trying to give young people hope, and revamping your technical schools, setting up centers to train them, trying to match them with jobs. But more importantly, for all of this to succeed, you had to create an environment where people could come in and create those jobs. So the environment in which we operated had to change. So first you had the issue of people, you had the issue of creating jobs, and then creating the environment in which these jobs be created. But you want to come to those states. You had only one flight in 2016 coming in Italy. Today you have more than 8 flights coming into the city, into Benin Airport. Between 2016 and date, I estimate roughly that in excess of $2.5 billion of private capital particularly Edo Diaspora, have come in mostly, and you can see most of it in real estate and in small businesses to support families, because we had improved the environment. We had removed house from the streets. People who used to harass innocent business people, innocent traders, we had to get rid of them, which is part of the issues we're facing today. The CDA issue, Community Development Associations, couldn't afford to build a property. Even in the GRA, government projects, you had young people or people were coming to hold property developers to ransom. One piece of land is sold 3-4 times to different people. So they're just coming in and insisting on rule of law, insisting on that things should be done properly, and removing non-state actors from the business of collecting government revenue, and moving house from our business places and marketplaces. That changed the entire business, the entire environment. People were now free to put money into the business, not afraid that they will be harassed by some agents. The people were free to buy land, develop land, not being harassed by CDA people, and the whole environment began to improve.
Just a bit more about education, because you raised that point. There's a feeling that your government has paid more attention to basic education at the detriment of tertiary education, because several of them have been on the front line, College of Agriculture, College of Education, and several others, even physical education, College of Physical Education, and all of this. Yeah.
In fact, you have to understand the most important and fundamental part of education, energy system, is basic education. If the foundation is strong, anything you build on that will collapse. And you can see the entire education industry, the entire chain had gone weak. So the basic schools were functioning, the teachers were teaching the children were learning, and that now is cascaded up. So it's secondary, clinical, tertiary. So to change the system, you go to where it's where you go to the roots of a system or the root of a problem. And for basic education is that root. And what were the problems? First, the teachers were not trained. You could not monitor. Your school were not properly governed. Where we thought education was equal to just building a few blocks and calling them all sorts of names. But for us, it was much more than that. It was encouraging the teachers, training them, restoring their respect, their dignity, giving them the tools to train the children, and putting in place a monitoring system to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do. But also involving the communities in the training and education of our children. Unlike in the past, where people saw the school as another government project, the community see the schools as their own. They participate in open days, they go to the schools, they have the teachers, they support the children, and contribute. So it's not just government, it's not just purely government responsibility. That has changed, and that I'm very glad about. We didn't close tertiary institutions. Some of them were not worth being called schools. In the case of the College of Agriculture, it's been rebuilt as we speak. But it was just shared deceit. I went in there myself and saw where those students were living. It was like pig holes, like poultry houses. That was where they keep people. And I think as I checked, for the last 5 to 10 years, they couldn't find somebody who went in any of the schools that could get a job. So we had to rebuild, and we're building most of our tertiary institutions. We got a new law. We now have a proper State College of Agriculture with 3 campuses, properly defined curriculum. They are all seeking accreditation. We're putting money in rebuilding the infrastructure, and we're doing something which is very unique. We're getting the private sector to partner with us. So on the council of the College of Agriculture, you will see private agricultural companies, concerns who are operating in the state being on the council, also helping the council and the school authorities define the curriculum, train them. So we're saying, no, this should be a training ground from where you can hire the people you need in the businesses. So we're linking to work, linking education with theoretical education with practical education. I didn't build on nothing. The foundation for that was very weak. In case of College of Education, Kedolo, that was the greatest deceit. That the College of Education was converted into University of Education the same day as the University Yamo. Look how much was committed to the University Yamo, and by the time my predecessor left office, nothing had been done in the case of Kedolo. It was obvious that all the money had been moved into one of the schools. Fine. So we had to think about what to do with that school. The authorities there haven't converted to a university. The old faculty wanted to automatically move into a university, which was impossible. It took time to try and get the NUC accreditations, and the resources were just not coming. So you had a situation where you had to close down, converted one school into a university. You could not start at the university. Meanwhile, they were not admitting new students. So I had to think hard with the support and cooperation of the President. The President appealed to him because I realized that we didn't have any federal college of education. So I said, since our emphasis is on technical education, if the federal government could assist us with the Federal College of Education to train teachers who would teach technical subjects in the schools. And I'm glad, I'm happy that the President acceded to my request and gave us that. So today, we've converted the State College of Education, Kiadolo, into a Federal College of Education, technical in Edo. In the meantime, we restructured the Edo College of Education with 3 campuses. One in Abudu. Don't forget, we had a teacher training college in Abudu from the 40s and 50s, and it was very well rated nationally. But for some strange reason, that school was abandoned. The property buildings were left relics. But we thank God we're rebuilding all of that school again. We've completed this one, which is currently on, and the School of Agriculture, the School of Education, Abudu, will now train primary school teachers, while the Igweben campus will train secondary and technical teachers, and the one in Afuze train teachers who will train children with special needs and special education.
When you're talking about the impact your government has made as it relates to checkmating the challenge of trafficking and illegal migration, you adduce the fact that one of the problems is because of unemployment in the state. You promised in the first term that you're going to create 200,000 jobs. To what extent has that been realized, and in affecting illegal migration as many as in Edo State?
And like I said today, check with the authorities, the International Office on Migration, the EU, the spate of human trafficking and irregular migration has dropped drastically. I think Edo has moved from number 1 right down, maybe 7 or 8. So it means we're doing something, and it's just not been because of enforcement only. It's because we're creating more opportunities for young people. From the survey that was done, an independent survey that was done by Business Day newspapers, as at December last year, we had created and tracked the jobs we had created as government directly and indirectly was at 157,000. And you tell where these jobs come from. Like I said, it's all related. Now that you're not harassing people anymore. More people are investing. Businesses are coming. You can see it. There are 8 flights coming in to do every day now. What people are suddenly coming, what are they coming to do? They're paying to come here. You see more hotels, more office spaces springing up daily. It's clearly employing people because we have changed the business environment. We've changed the environment in which people do things. Take construction. I've said almost $2 billion of fresh investments has entered Edo in the last 3 to 4 years. These people employ construction workers, employ people who make and sell building materials. So it's just been a general growth in the economy of Edo State. There more people have been employed. And the Federal Bureau of Statistics, in its last report, showed that employment had declined from 25% to 9%. If you take population of Edo State, just doing pure the maths, from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics numbers alone, that's clearly about 105,000 jobs that were being created from that decline. So it's verifiable, the data speaks to it, you can see it on the streets, there's much more happening. A lot of young kids are now doing things themselves. They are trained to code, they're coding for companies abroad. You can feel that template, you can feel that buzz, that so much is going on here.
What extent has this niche job reflected in internally generated revenue of the state?
It has reflected on what we've seen about a 20% rise. You see, in 2016, yes, you had spikes. Occasionally, Nigeria will just go to 2 million and then drop to about 1.6 million in most months. But now, Nigeria clearly on a month and on, but even before the event of COVID was in excess of 2 billion a month. And this is before taking all the steps we want to take, like giving pool tax identity numbers and making sure that we tax those who have something to do, not tax those who are currently paying. Because what used to happen was the taxation efforts was concentrated on those non-taxpayers. And very little effort was being made to go out to get new people into the tax net. That we have done. We have a database of almost 500,000 potential new taxpayers. And as a government, we're humane, we're civil. Just to go out there, forcing people, throwing away their goods, forcing them to pay taxes. It's important for education, get them to see and trust government. Because people say, okay, why am I paying taxes? What do I get from government? But now you can see the roads. you can see better schools, you can see better improved healthcare system. And so when we come to you and say, we need to pay to stay that, find out that people are willingly coming up to their taxes.
Your administration prides itself with infrastructural development in the state. What have you got to say about the feeling in some quarters that your government is on parallel, is on equal in capital fight in the state? What you can call exports of businesses and contract jobs to other people, to other persons, to non-indigenous that are outside of the state, your cronies, as they say.
Well, I think all part of propaganda. Where have we invested? We've invested in the large, where have we constructed infrastructure? We have 2 or 3 categories of contractors working there. You have large multinational contractors who I met and I still use, none of them left. Then you have the second-tier contractors who are locals, who we always used. We had a program sponsored by the World Bank called C4 to help with infrastructure. When the funding stopped, we continued with our money. So that system is already in place. And then have maybe very, very small contractors who build school blocks and all of that. I teach to anybody who cares that if they can go to the books of the Ministry of Infrastructure, not one of those contracts, category 2 and 3 especially, we created are from outside the state. The problem that is people who used to get the contracts in the past stopped getting them. And therefore, they now assume that we were giving it outside. What used to happen is that same clique, small cliques that are close to government and people in power, close to the bureaucrats, are the ones that used to get the contracts, and they will now sell those contracts to third parties. Now they are not getting the contracts. Those people who own businesses, who own construction businesses, are getting these contracts directly. So as far as they are concerned, those people are foreigners, they are outsiders from outside of the state, because they are not the ones getting those contracts anymore to sell. And at the end of the day, when I give a contract of 50 million, or a contract that should have been 50 million, I have to give it to you for 800 million, so that you can make your own profit and sell it to the person who will do it for 50. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm giving direct to the person who will do it for 50. Instead of spending 100 million for that one road, I'm able to build 2 roads for that 100 million. That is the problem. It is not because there's capital flight or we have doing work to not people. All that was that capital flight, why is money coming back in terms of restaurants, houses that you see? All contractors who have bidded and worked on our superb projects, the schools are primary schools. They're all locals. They're there. We come to the website. Their names are there. Addresses are there.
Is it true that Edo State is the second most exposed state to foreign lenders? Second to Lagos?
Well, yes and no. The loans I have been part of taking have all been the type of loans governments take. Very long-term loans, and sometimes even like grants. The bulk of the money I have been associated with industry have been money from World Bank and such multilateral agencies, where they give you money at less than 1% for like 20 years, so that you can use this money to build roads, build schools, that will take time. That will help grow the society time. I cannot get this money to get revenues from these development projects to pay back. It's not going to bank to borrow money, to pay salary, borrow money to do, to build roads. We've never done it. The problem with the loan struggle is that my predecessor in office borrowed recklessly without knowing.
And yet you were the head of
yes,
management.
Right. We didn't know because there were 60 billion of arrears contract gave out to contractors that were never paid. I knew about any contract. That's debt. There were things that were owed the banks, which the federal government had to now take on and restructure. When the administration came in 2016, the total debts, like you said, in 2008, total debts 40 billion. Between 2008 and 2016, we earned almost $1 trillion, and he's left debt of almost 140 billion.
What's the current debt file of the state?
The current profile is under 130 billion. Because they are mostly, apart from the ones that have been structured, the federal government had to restructure all the debt. We don't have any local debt, we're not owing any local bank. What we have are debt to the World Bank, debt to the federal government, and debt to contractors.
If it's just you're watching the candidates on independent television and radio, and today's program, we have the privileged host, the state governor and the PP governorship candidate, Godwin Obaseki, responding to a wide range of issues as it bothers on the state governorship election, which of course is scheduled for Saturday, 10 September 2020. We want to say big thanks to all our viewers and listeners across the world, on YouTube, on Facebook and on our website. As is a tradition, at closing stages of this discussion, around an interview, our studio line will be open so you can call and contribute and ask a question. Please ensure that when you do call, do not cast aspersion on anyone. Be as brief as possible because others are waiting. And just in case you can't call, we also will provide you with a WhatsApp number with which you can send your questions or your contributions. You can also start posting contributions or your questions either on YouTube or on our Facebook page. Still, meet the candidate on IT Radio Benin. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
On how they use it, but I know they road again. No harassment for our road users. Them. Now the bad things. What Obaseki bring come. Now it's go to our press. Vote Obaseki. Vote PDP.
Thanks for joining us on Candidate on independent television and radio with your son Duko. In this program, we have the PDP governorship candidate and the state governor, Godwin Obaseki. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Senator.
Let's quickly talk a bit about your government's agricultural policy. And in response to that, I need you to give us insight about the facts and the fallacies about the 68 billion Edo State oil palm project. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. One governor that had sort of agriculture in Edo State, the late General Samuel Bambuya. And just like in many other areas, it looked like Edo stopped after him. So in looking at agriculture in Edo State, we're going back to the plan where he stopped. Unfortunately for us, the federal government had now initiated some funding for agriculture. For us, our agricultural initiative and strategy for Edo are two folds. First, we are the state with the largest number of hectares of organized plantations, large farms, large-scale farms. So we have a history of plantations. The two largest agricultural companies in Nigeria who are quoted in the Nigerian Stock Exchange are located into. So we have that history. So the first plan is build on what we have, encourage more people to come so that we can have more land under cultivation. Also to look at the what we call high-value crops, like cash crops like palm, rubber, cashew, and cocoa, which take time to mature. Under that arrangement, we then decided to make more land available. And we have been able to, where we now go through our land system, land allocation, we did what we call forest audit to see how much land government really had, how much land had been deforested, how much land had been created that don't be deforested, and see that we put such land into agricultural use and invite large agricultural companies to come and invest in agriculture in the state. Fortunately, the central bank already had provided facilities. So today I can tell you very firmly, authoritatively, after the first audit, we found almost 120,000 hectares of land that we could put into use as plantations. We called companies to bid, companies who have resources to do so, and to date we have just finished allocating about 50,000 of such land to companies like Flour Mill of Nigeria, like Dufil, people who make Indomie, like two others. So these people, these companies working with the state government and the Central Bank of Nigeria will start expanding and cultivating large areas for products like oil palm, rubber, and cocoa. That's one category. We then went down to the next category. So that the farms that the administration established, some farms that were established when we were part of Western region, like in Sobe, that was farm we owned over from the Western region. There are farm settlements. There's another one in Okwe. That one we're working on that at the moment. We have set farms in Warke, in Agbede, in Agenebude. But they were all abandoned. There all sorts of crazy transactions been done over the years. We went back to them and we've now resitting them. But we're not doing that as government under the Ministry of Agriculture. We're taking facilities from the central bank, preparing the land and inviting people who are interested to come and cultivate. And then working with the companies, we buy whatever they produce at the end of the period. On the central bank agro schemes or commercial agri transaction, funding is offered, goods, seedlings are offered, fertilizers are offered, extension services are offered, so that people can make money. The problem with agriculture is that by the time you finish clearing, you finish clearing, providing security, you won't have money to do anything. So we, working with the same facilities, help you remove that risk. So your own problem now is to make sure that you plan time, you do the right things, and you grow the food, and somebody will buy from you, so that you have enough money to come back the following season. That's what we've done in Sobe, we've done in Subenu, we've done in Waraka, we've done in Agenobene, we've done in Agbede, we're going to do in Awe. The last part of agricultural intervention, and this has happened after COVID. Once we saw what was going on with COVID, we knew clearly that the food shortage ahead. So we then, looking at again the settlement program, now identify real farmers. And we had a system where we identified people who were actually farming in various communities. And you find, on the average, you have 1 or 2 acres because you are doing it manually. And we approach them to say, look, what do we need to do for you to make you produce more? And they told us, give us fertilizers, give us a bit of capital. But if we produce more, who will buy from us? We said, no problem. We'll give you fertilizer, we'll give you the money, and we'll guarantee that we'll buy whatever you produce. And we've done that to about 3,000 farmers today, and we're expanding. The more we get, the more we'll. Then next season, we will also help them, if they have more land, prepare the land for cultivation, because food production is the key to our survival as a state.
Yeah. I still need you to give us some justification for the 16 billion project.
The 68 billion, I'm saying that Edo was great before we found petrol. Okay. We were one of the biggest states, we were the biggest states in our palm. That's what 94 was okay. That's how we had farms. So when you see Okomo Presco, these were original farms that were established by governments through all sorts of assistance, were sold to spread people. But that stopped because there was no plan policy. So as a government, we then developed what we call the Edo State Oil Palm Program, and invited the central bank, invited private sector to come and bid for land. Now the central bank provides capital up to 68 billion to those companies to now cultivate. It's not money coming into Edo directly. As a government, we're not farmers, we're not business people. Our role is to encourage people who are in the business of agriculture, who are in business, to succeed in those states.
What's the plan, legally speaking, to protect host communities where this oil plantation we place against the background of experiences we've had with more several others?
Okay, that's why last thing was what we call a forest audit. Okay. Make sure that land is government land. I was reserved, but over time, people have gone there to remove trees, do what have you, and take it over. So in this program, you have to first decide on who owns. It has to be your land that is properly acquired. So if we want to gain community land, there's a process you go through. You also have to ensure that you have a community action plan, which we supervise, which is consultation with the communities before anyone comes in. On the program, we also have an aspect fee that is for local community. You can come in with, you can't give 10,000 hectares for you alone. There must be a part of that must be for smallholders who work with you, who cultivate also for you. And the smallholder won't be able to manage 1,000 hectares. But in people who manage 20, 25 hectares. And on that program, 25% of what we are allocating to you should be given to smallholders, preferably within communities, so that can also be part of your set.
Let's look at the health sector. You did promise to have one primary health center in every ward in Edo State. Where are we in terms of realizing that?
The plan is that you should not walk more than 5 kilometers from your location to access healthcare. Before we came in, all sorts of buildings had been put in place called primary healthcare centers. Many of them abandoned because here in people just took advantage of government policy to build things that were not functional or never made functional. So what we did was say, this is the future. This is what an ideal primary healthcare center should look like. This is where it should be located. This is the minimum standards for a primary healthcare center. So we built this 20 as prototypes for what primary healthcare centers should look like, after which we will expand. Today, we have 66. Each primary healthcare center must have 24/7 electricity, must have water, must have security, should have, if possible, accommodation for the staff if it's in a rural area, must have a minimum number of staff, community health workers that have been properly trained, and also have a program continuously trained, must have technology, computer, we have a system where anybody who comes into that center, you obtain data, and all of that data is keyed into the database. So you know who has come there and the condition. so that you can always have follow-up or referrals. The plan is that our specialist hospitals, our specialist hospitals going forward, will be referral hospitals. You should be referred from the primary health care center or your clinic into you shouldn't come in to general hospital to treat malaria. That is something you should do to treat in the primary health care center. What we have found is that the issue is, yes, even when you provide this facility, when you provide primary health care, how do you get people to use it? How do you make it affordable? How do you make it stable? And we realize that the key, like everywhere else, has developed effective health care system, is health insurance. I'm sure you don't have one. If you or members of your family are ill, you have to go to the hospital. If it's a private hospital, you have to pay out of pocket. If you don't have money that content, what do? You hold back. And that disease that would have been dealt with in very early stages now fester. But if you had a health insurance scheme, the type we put in place, no matter how you are, I mean how what you earn. If a package, like a basic package of 12,000 naira per annum or 24,000 naira per annum, and you set aside 100 naira a, right, for 500 naira a week, 2,000 naira a month, 24,000 naira a year, and you have that package for your family, that should be able to take you into any hospital, private or public, to treatment. So that way you don't hold back, you're free, go into nurse, check my blood pressure, you don't have to pay for car, you don't have to. So it's essentially getting healthcare first to people at basic level. Let it be accessible, let it be close, and then make sustainable. And then the government will now direct its expenditure in other areas. Partner with private people to come in and set up high-end specialist care. The day where government alone paid for healthcare is untenable. That's why the system collapsed before. But just to rebuild our healthcare system, government should focus on those things it should first, and then attract people who have got to do those things it cannot do.
In terms of numbers, how many PCs have been constructed on them?
Not constructed, many of them constructed, we have to rehabilitate and restructure them. Okay. As at now, we have about 68 today, as at today. And the goal is we'll roll out to 200 eventually.
Fantastic. What do you say about the dearth of personnel in the health sector, in the education sector, even the entire civil service sector? Some say it's within the region of about 40% because some have retired, some have passed on, and all of that. What is government doing in that regard?
Well, I think what my government is doing is to rethink the whole way government operates. To think about it differently. Because what is happening is the operating government in 2020, the way it was operated in 1957, 1966, it is not working. Yes, there are vacancies.